Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium journalist, writer, lifelong contrarian and militant atheist, Christopher Hitchens.
Thank you, Your Reverence, for that suspiciously terse, grudging introduction. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, very much for coming. Thank you for laying on an evening of weather to remind me of my English boyhood. In other ways, to make me feel at home, as I always do when I visit Sydney, which is the only place I've so far visited where if you stay in the neighbourhood I am staying, you go for your daytime, or it might be a nighttime constitutional walk, and you wonder exactly how to get back. And you stop someone and say, "Excuse me," you find yourself saying, "Am I headed for the rocks?" Question I've asked myself many a time and on many a midnight stroll, but only in Sydney do they say, "Yeah, no worries." Good place for dangerous ideas, a chit-chat, in other words. A risk-taking kind of a spot. Rocks? No worries. I'm sorry for that reason, partly for that reason, to have missed your darkness at dawn moment the other day, because a lot of my early training in the apocalyptic came from the study of Australian letters. When I was a boy, I was very fond of the writing of Neville Shute. Town Like Alice, I particularly loved. In the Wet, No Highway, remember No Highway? Perhaps I'm giving away my age a bit, but of course, and I think most memorably, On the Beach, where the last people on Earth wait in Australia to see what kind of death is going to be brought to them on the prevailing winds. There were lots of ways, I now realize, tons of ways in which Neville Shute couldn't write. But he could write about the inevitable and about the possibility of extinction. In other words, that nature might not know we were here. The great challenge to our self-esteem, to our solipsism, that there could be a point in evolution where evolution that hadn't noticed we'd arrived wouldn't even notice that we'd gone either. And beautifully done, as some of you will have seen, by Stanley Kubrick on the screen, where as the inevitable gets nearer all the time, the churches decide it's time for a moment of uplift. And out come the Salvation Army girls with their tambourines and their tins, and the churches throw open their doors, and there's a big banner saying, "Repent. There is still time, brother," it reads. And it mocks what's coming. It doesn't know it's doing it. Last attempt to fill up those empty spaces in the church. And at the close, the streets are empty, and it's a dusty, howling wilderness. But the banner, "There is still time, brother," is still flapping in the wind to mock all our illusions. And it's the attempt to live without illusions that I believe is the most dangerous, but the most worthwhile, and in some ways the most enjoyable undertaking, despite its risks, of all. And that's why I'm here, and that's why you're nice to have me. Now,